Johnnie Mac, how are you?
I'm good, Rich. We don't get any game plan information, although, I probably could have got it from a bar napkin from the Omni Frisco for my game plan Sirianni put together in North Texas. Not good.
It's funny, too, John. You were saying after week one, I love what he did, how they worked around Jalen Hurts, and they opened it on the bound, and then boom. In the game, you should have beat the 49ers, and then in front of a national audience, you go out and you get waxed. Now, I want to talk about the defense first because I understand the Graham loss is huge. I don't recall a time where I've actually watched an NFL game. The only thing I can remember is maybe Green Bay in the 49ers game where the 49ers had like 260 yards rushing in the playoffs. The Dallas Cowboys, they could have ran, what they did, the same play 3, 4, 5 times in a row, and they were ripping off chunks of yardage. I mean, so is that more to do with the loss of Graham or just that run defense as a whole stinks right now for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, I don't think the linebackers are equipped to stop the run, but talking about that since really the offseason, I mean, Eric Wilson had a pretty significant sample size when he came over from Minnesota, and his weakness was clearly run support. He's a good coverage linebacker. So that's where the modern NFL is going. And then you have certain teams that are going to take advantage of that, say, all right, we're going to run the football. I think they become fewer and fewer. And you almost hope you don't run into them, but when you run into them, that becomes an issue. And then, you have Brandon Graham out. It's interesting because, people assume, well, most of the damage came up the middle between the tackles.
Yep.
You say, well, what can Brandon do about that? But it makes a big difference to set the edge. Because what the Cowboys did without Brandon Graham in there, they said, all right, let's double team Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave and make the other guys beat us. So the ends weren't crashing down to help and run support. The linebackers couldn't do anything. And you mentioned, it's interesting because the Cowboys had no explosive runs in the entire game. Their longest run was 13 yards. It was death by 1,000
Exactly.
yards.
Exactly.
6, 7 yards every single time. And, the linebackers, people get obsessed with stats all the time. They talk about it. Football's not a statistical game. Say, so-and-so got 10. If you're tackling a guy 8 yards down the field, it ain't good.
No, it's not. And what happens, too, right, when your offense is going 3 and out, you already put a winded defense right back on the field. And then it also opened up a lot of the play action for Prescott. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys probably could have scored 60 points if they wanted to the other night. Look, offensively, it wasn't a very good game for Jalen Hurts. I mean, yes, you have to blame him, but you also have to look at the play calling. You have to look at Sirianni. I mean, I don't understand, and I know you and I, it's not that we go back and forth with this, but you have to have some semblance of a ground game in the NFL, right? And I'm not saying it's a 17-16 game where one team's got to pick up a yard and the defense and the fans and the commentators and us at home watching. No, you got to pick up a yard. All I'm saying is the Eagles, at times, you have a good back in Sanders, right? He can do some nice things. You get him in space a little bit because a 3-4 yard, even a screen pass is just as good as a run. I didn't see the creativity. I saw Hurts, who looked like a deer in headlights at times, some bad throws. You have documented and well documented his lack of arm strength, which we saw on that one interception. Why was the offense so bad the other night?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not as big. It's interesting. Nick Sirianni talked today, and a lot of the Eagles, most of the Eagles' offense is supposed to be predicated around the RPO, the run-pass option. So, when they run that, they consider it a run call. And then it's up to Jalen Hurts to read the defender on the play.
Right.
And it could turn into 3 different options, essentially. So, the quarterback is a big part of this rushing game, so he ran it 9 times. But while I say all this, you gotta give it to your running backs more than 3 times. Problem is they couldn't convert a first down in the first half. I mean, they were just 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out all the time. They weren't converting, so then it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. Then you're down by 2 scores. Then you got to throw the football. So it's an ugly performance by just about everybody. The head coach, the young quarterback. The plan was not there. I thought, after the game, I found it curious that, Nick Sirianni thought he was going to be in a shootout, and he thought he had to keep up. I think of it the opposite way, and I say this coming up with Kansas City. I'll say it when Tampa Bay comes in here in a couple of weeks. No, you can't keep up with these teams. You got to go the opposite direction. You got to play a little bit of old school football. You have to try to keep it away from Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. That's your best path to win. Now, I know, and Rich, the analytics people are going to jump down my throat and say, no, you can't do that. You can't do that in the modern NFL. Now, I acknowledge your path to victory is much smaller if you play that way. But if you're not capable of playing the other way, it's still a larger path than if you try to outscore a team you're not equipped to outscore. So I found it interesting that Nick Sirianni was like, we got to outscore this team. You're not going to outscore that team.
You're not.
You got to find out a way to keep their scoring down.
Yep.
And how do you do that? The easiest way to do that is to keep the football.
That's right. And you're right with the whole analytics thing. And I got that issue with Judge in New York. That's a different conversation for another day. What about the injuries now? That's a big loss right now. You got to do a little more shuffling. And here's something else we talked about on two fronts, kind of a two-pronged question. You've got Kansas City, Carolina, Tampa Bay, and the Raiders coming up. I mean, folks, they can be staring down the barrel here of a 1-6 start, especially if that offense doesn't get in gear, especially if that run defense continues to get exposed. So what do they do with the line? What's your thoughts on the state of the offensive line right now?
Yeah, I asked Nick about that. He's being very coy early in the week, and the Eagles actually scaled back to a walkthrough today instead of having a full practice. And I thought that was interesting as well. One of the reasons why I think he has a competitive advantage because Kansas City is not going to know how their offensive line looks. I look at it the other way. They don't care. Who cares? It's going to be Landon Dickerson moving to left guard or Nate Herbig playing at right guard or Suo Peta playing at left guard. What do they care? So, these coaches get hung up on these competitive advantage situations. I think long term, Isaac's out for the season. Brandon Brooks is going to be back at some point. Although Nick did say it's going to be a while for Brandon Brooks, so it's not like it's going to be 3 weeks and he's going to be back off injured reserve. He said it's going to take a while. So, where they are in the transition phase, as Jeffrey Lurie coined this year, they want to get Landon Dickerson snaps. They want to get him up to speed, even though he hasn't been great because it's about more than this year. So he's going to play, obviously. And you project that out and say, well, if Brandon Brooks is back, he's going to play right guard, so you're going to have to move Landon Dickerson to left guard. So the key question is, when does that happen? Does that happen immediately, or do you wait until Brandon Brooks comes back?
Yeah, I mean, they are, like I said, they're stuck with a rock and a hard place. And I want to go back to something you said probably a month or two ago, that you back him in the corner. Jalen Hurts is not the answer, right? And this is by no way, shape, or form piling on the kid. Everyone wants him to do well, but the bottom line is the reality of pro sports, the reality, you got to win on Sundays, and that's just how it is, man. That's why they tag the wins and losses to quarterbacks, which, again, we've had that discussion as well. But what if he continues to struggle? Is there a benefit where you sit him down, or you just play it out to see what you have over the course of 17 games with him this year?
Yeah, I think you just play it out.
Okay.
Because you don't have the answer with Joe Flacco. Obviously, he's a veteran backup quarterback. If you want to argue Gardner Minshew, I don't think he's the answer. I don't think there's any thought that could be the way. So I think this whole year, And I said it after week 1 when everyone was going crazy and saying how they schemed up Jalen Hurts. And I said, well, is that really what you want to do? Because do we want to be in week 18? Now we got 18 weeks. I got to remember that. And, even if you win a bad division and it looks like Dallas is going to be good enough that it won't be that bad, at least at the top. But say you won a 9-8 division, but you didn't find out what the quarterback was because you masked his deficiencies all year. And you did a good job with it, by the way. You might have found out about the coach, but you didn't find out about the quarterback. So I think in a lot of ways the last 2 weeks have been helpful in finding out what you have, because when he's asked to throw the football down the field, it doesn't look good. And ultimately, you're going to have to do that to be a long-term success in this league. So if you want to have the answer, if you're saying to yourself that's the most important goal of this particular season, maybe these hiccups and these lessons learned are not the worst thing in the world, because you're not a significant contender anyway.
When do you turn around and say it's no longer a sample size what hurts?
I think it's too early for that. I mean, I think there's extremes. I think you saw it after week 1. You saw one side of the extreme, and people saying, oh, this guy's going to be great for the next 10 years. We found our answer. And then you have, after one bad game on Monday night, people saying, there's no way this kid can improve. There's no way this kid can do anything.
Right.
As always in life, it's somewhere in between.
Yep.
He's only started 7 games. People do improve. People do learn. And I think he'll play better at times moving forward. But, the key question is, in situations like he's been in the past 2 weeks, Nick Sirianni always states that every coach wants to play from the lead. But for this Eagles team, if your only goal is to win a football game, they have to be playing almost from the lead. They are not equipped to come back from 10, 14 points. You see all these explosive offenses. You're up 14 against Kansas City or Green Bay. You know the game's not over. You know they're coming.
Yep.
At some point. You don't get that feeling with the Eagles. They get down two scores, and you're like, all right, let's start thinking about next week.
Yeah, no doubt. And Kansas City, they've dropped 2 in a row. You had the issues with Andy Reid. Now they're coming back to Philly. I mean, this to me has the makings of just a get-right game for Kansas City. I mean, that line's sitting at 7.5. This could be a rake the lawn, do the leaves by halftime type of game.
Yeah, this is not a matchup. You're a boxing guy. I mean, if styles make fights, this is not a matchup.
Throw the towel in after 2.
That favors the Eagles.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just not. Kansas City's going to score points, and they're just not capable of scoring points like Kansas City is. So, I mean, unless Nick Sirianni has that come-to-Jesus moment and says, I can't pretend I'm Paul Westhead here and try to beat teams up the floor and outscore them, I gotta go a little old school. I gotta milk the clock. I gotta keep the football away from Patrick Mahomes and company. I still don't think they're going to win the game, but at least they might have a better chance of winning the game.
Johnnie Mac, a couple minutes before I let you go here, quickly around the league. I look at the Rams, and it's amazing what happens when you upgrade the quarterback position. I mean, I think right now they are the best team in the NFC. Dallas could be 3-0. I like what Carolina's doing with Sam Darnold. I know they got some injuries as well, but how about the job that Stafford's doing, right? I mean, McVay, you can just see him, man. He's like Pavlov salivating with those dogs. I mean, just sees his kid under center, and he's just slinging all over the place.
Yeah, I've always been a Matthew Stafford guy. I got killed for it over the years. I don't understand people who watched him in Detroit and thought he was the problem. There was a guy who was always sort of better than the sum of his parts, and now you're seeing it when he's got some talent around him. I mean, he's just a terrific pocket passer, certainly one of the best in football, and you're going to see it throughout this year. I mean, that's a legitimate Super Bowl contender now. because of the upgrade at the quarterback position. You just saw they beat the Super Bowl champions. So, I mean, injuries always have a big part of it, but get in early on the Rams if you can. Probably can at this point.
Yeah, and then, the explicable 4th and 19 conversion against the Lions in Baltimore, and I still think the play clock ran down. You get the long field goal, which was crazy. Then the Giants get beat on another field goal. I actually predicted Atlanta was going to go down and score in 3 plays. They did it in 5. All right, I was off by 1 or 2. And then you've got the return of the GOAT. I think this will be this game is going to be heavily bet. But I also believe this might be one of the highest rated games the NFL has ever seen. And you got that window, right? It's perfect. It's fitting. Sunday Night Football. You just sit back, you relax. You got the shoulder programming. You're good to go. You got Brady returning to Foxborough. Man, you just get the sense he just wants to come out and stick it to them so bad. What's your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I'm sure he does. It's interesting. I don't know why there should be any acrimony from either side, to be honest.
It worked out for both of them.
Yeah, I know. There's obviously, at times he had been there for so long, and I remember, Chris Long talking about the difference between New England and Philadelphia when he was here, and he won the back-to-back Super Bowls, and he was like, things aren't that fun in New England because it is such a business-like environment, and they're so focused. But there's a reason you have that success as well over that extended period of time. And, it's not about fun. Tom's probably having more fun now, and he's gotten another Super Bowl championship. But I don't think anybody should be booing Tom Brady in Foxborough. And I don't think Tom Brady should be that upset about the Patriots. But listen, and years from now, when it is finally over for Tom Brady, now he's talking about playing to 50, I think he'll come to that realization and understand as much as he helped that organization helped him as well. I think ultimately we'll get there, but it's going to take a while.
And let us not forget a lot of gift baskets and Christmas cards to the New York Jets as well. He is John McMullen, the Eagles Insider. Philly Voice, Jacob Media, Birds 365 with Johnnie Mac. All right, my friend. Well, look, I always appreciate you. You enjoy what I think will be a bloodbath on Sunday, but enjoy it nonetheless.
Yeah, it's an angry team that shouldn't be 1-2. I don't like this matchup. But you know this league, Rich. At some point, the Eagles are going to win a game. You don't think they're going to win. Correct. And they're obviously going to lose a game that you think they're going to win.
Correct. But again, since I have Kansas City in a teaser with,
This is not going to be the week.
Exactly.
I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't worry about it.
Appreciate you, pal.
All right, see you.
You got it. Our guy, Johnnie Mac. Good stuff as always. Quick timeout.